I want to share an incredible story, and I'm indebted to Rav David Ashear for this beautiful Chanukah story. So there's a woman named Mrs. Gordon, and she used to help out financially a woman named Mrs. Spitzer. And one day she wanted to visit this Mrs. Spitzer to see exactly where her money was going to. And she knocks on the door and she walks in, and on the frame she sees a picture of a woman, and she is in absolute shock because that is the woman, she explains, who saved her life. So Mrs. Gordon begins to explain when she was in Bergen-Belsen, that horrible camp, the Nazis tried to strip everything from the Jews, but she and her friends, who were all girls, decided they were going to do the mitzvahs to the best of their ability, despite what the Nazis did to them. No matter what, they would do their best to do the mitzvahs. And soon, Chanukah was approaching. And so they knew the mitzvah of the day was to light Chanukah candles. And so somehow they saved a little extra margarine and took a little cloth from their clothing for the wick. The only thing they needed was a vessel to make that Chanukah candle. And they thought of an idea. Let's use potato peels. But even that was very hard to come by, until they realized that for exactly 5 minutes in the kitchen from 12 to 12:05, the Nazi guards were on a change of shift, and if they snuck to the kitchen and got the potato peels, they could light their candles. So they decided, what would life be worth if not to do the mitzvahs? And they snuck through, but unfortunately, a Nazi guard saw them and they were caught. They were sentenced to death. And soon afterwards, they were all gathered to the central area where everyone was going to witness this cruel Nazi kill these righteous women, true Maccabean heroes. And they were about to shoot, but wait, let me go back a few days earlier. A few days earlier, these girls who were on death sentence had snuck out because there was one Jewish woman that got better treatment than everyone else because she was a genius. She knew a lot of languages, and she would, translate different documents and help the Nazis to understand different languages. And one day they snuck out to this Jewish woman in the hope that maybe she could have some influence and pull some strings and save their lives. And they actually caught her right on that beginning of Chanukah. She herself was lighting Chanukah candles, singing the Ma'uz Tzor. And they thought this was a good sign. And they said, "Hello, can you help us out?" But the woman was startled. "What are you doing here? We could get killed." And she quickly got them out of there before she got in trouble. In any case, flashing forward, the girls are standing before the Nazis, and this is the end. When that same woman, Mrs. Spitzer, came running out and said to the Nazis, something in their ears, and he seemed very shook, the Nazi who was in charge, but it seemed like he had no choice, and he ran outside and canceled the shooting. Soon afterwards, the British invaded this camp, and everyone went free. And that was a woman who Mrs. Gordon saw on that painting that day, that Mrs. Gordon who had saved her life. And now it was time for the daughter of Mrs. Spitzer to tell her side of the story. Now it all made sense. You see, just a few years earlier, she had a dream where her mother, Mrs. Spitzer, came to her in a dream and said in Yiddish, 5 for 5. And indeed, soon afterwards, she had quintuplets, 5 daughters. She had always wanted twins, but she got quintuplets. And Mrs. Spitzer had saved 5 girls' lives through her act of heroism. And so she was Zoiche. She merited to, through her mother, give 5 new children, new Jewish souls, to bring a lot of light, a lot of Chanukah light into the world. Good Chanukah, good Chanukah.